Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Diana Wright Show live online. We are here with you, and it's TGIF. Thank God it's Friday. It's Wow Big Friday on the Diana Wright Show. So how are we going to start this morning? Because there are so many wows in the news, including some racist and some crazy ones. Before we do that, I would like to do this. I'd like to read you from my Bible, Proverbs 20. Verse 24, and I'll give you verse 29 also. Don't forget it's Father's Day this weekend, and please don't bother with the tie. Come up with something more creative for your dad if you have one. Well, we assume you have one, but most of them sometimes are not participating. Even though we encourage them on this program to participate, teach their children to love themselves, and they themselves love themselves. And that's the reason we have, you see I'm wearing my I Love Me t-shirt today to remind you it is on my web store for sale, reminding you to love yourselves even as guys. Guys need to love themselves too and know who they are and know what's their purpose in this life. And if you have a child, the purpose is to be a dad, I guess. Yes. So, no ties for dad. Come up with something a little more creative for your dad this weekend. But I thought I'd read Proverbs 20, verse 24 says this: Man's goings are of the Lord. How can a man then understand his own way? So, if God knows the way all the time, why are we always trying to pretend as if we know the way? We don't. He does. And then there is 29, which I thought was quite interesting. The glory of young men is their strength, and the beauty of old men is the gray head. So why is it that so many men are then dyeing their hair, their locks, and trying to look younger? Advice to you men out there who are dyeing your gray hair: it makes you look older, actually, because especially black men, if your hair is very black, it tends to make you look a little harder and a little older. So just a little advice from a lady who has good taste in guys. And knows when a man looks good, clothing and otherwise. Please, no more dye. It says there in Proverbs, verse 29 of chapter 20, that it is glorious for you to have your gray hair. When you're young, you have your strength. When you're old, we want to see that silver locks. So don't try to do the dye thing, mess up the pillow and all that kind of stuff. Ooh. Wow. So, men, I'm just appealing to you before Father's Day, no dye in the hair. Just let it be gray. There goes your greatness and your power. It says so in the Bible. I didn't make it up. I'm reading it from my Bible, the one that's in my office, because I have them all over the place. Yeah. It's when I want to read my Bible or research something quickly. I don't want to be running from place to place to find a Bible. So I have one everywhere. In every room there's a Bible. Yeah? So, happy Father's Day before it comes to all of those of you who are great fathers. And if you're not so great, we just encourage you to be a better one. Nobody's going to beat you up here. We just encourage you to be a better one. Yeah? And remember yesterday I was starting a quotation before Judith from People for 90 called to finish what she started last Tuesday, struck by lightning here. When you win, you have 1,000 fathers, but when you lose, you become an orphan. Remember the other night when LeBron James didn't play so well? Everybody was about to take him to the orphanage. But yes, they came back last night and the Heats are equal again. So why are we always so willing to throw people under the bus? Make them orphans when they make one mistake, or when they didn't have a good night. LeBron has been, I mean, oh my goodness, the words cannot even describe how good he has been the entire season. And one night, everybody was ready to make him an orphan and throw him in the orphanage and never return. But divine plan of God is always there to save people. Remember when they used to really talk so many bad things about LeBron because he decided to make a decision about his own life? And I was praying for that young man every single day. He doesn't need my prayers because he has so much money he can hire people to pray for him, if that's the case. But I thought what was being said and done to him at that time when he was making his decision to come to the Miami Heat, all the nasty things that were said about him, I thought I needed to pray for him. And my golly, he won his ring that he wanted, and he so deserves. So my God, people, do not run to send people to the orphanage when they just have a one bad night. It is incredible to see how quickly we as people decide to just destroy people because they made one mistake. So what did you find in your boxes of blessings this morning? And did you say, I love me to yourself today? Whether you're male or female, lots of you should be buying my t-shirt for your dads. That's what you should be doing. So they know that they should love themselves and teach their sons to love themselves. Because you know that mothers are teaching their daughters to love themselves most of the times. Yeah, I would hasten to say most of the times. Some mothers can be cruel to their daughters. Some mothers are jealous of their daughters. We see that all the time. But most mothers are willing to teach their daughters to love themselves. And stop telling young men that they don't need to cry and they shouldn't show emotion. Yes, they should, because they're human beings. They absolutely should. A man should cry when crying is necessary. Some women think that crying is weakness in men, but it really isn't. It shows that they have some kind of emotion, especially when they go out and cheat on their wives and their girlfriends. Sometimes the tears are not real, so you got to watch that too. Anyway, on this big Wow Friday, I begin in San Antonio, Texas, at continuing with the NBA. Now, the Spurs invited that young man, 11-year-old Sebastian De La Cruz, to sing the Star-Spangled Banner, the national anthem. And he sang it so well. But of course, he chose to wear his Mexican attire because he is American. He was born in Texas. But he's recognizing his Mexican heritage. But my golly, Twitter has created monsters in this country. Because when they don't like you and they want to rip you, they go to the tweet. And they tweeted. Whatever they tweeted, oh my God, it was so vile, so hateful, so disgraceful, and so detrimental to a young man. Of course, we are lucky that he has self-confidence. So he was able to say, I'm just singing, I don't care what they say. He was able to do that. So I want to raise up that young man on this Diana Wright show today and say shame, disgrace to the people who tweeted all those racist remarks about, that illegal alien singing our national. Who gave you the anthem and said you owned it? And it's only you that can sing the national anthem, the Star-Spangled Banner? Most of you can't even sing it anyway because you can't hold a bloody tune to sing it. And you decided as a bunch of cowards to stand behind Twitter and tweet all those nasty things about an 11-year-old who was just doing something that he does well, sing. And he was so good that he was invited back for a second time to sing, and even more people got annoyed. That doesn't normally happen. The NBA normally chooses a new person each time to sing the Star-Spangled Banner. So shame on all of you who tweeted those nasty things about immigrants, illegal people. Did you even bother to find out that the young man was born in the USA? Or do you just have so much hate in your heart? So I tweeted on my site, you can follow me today, as I tweeted that you need to replace all that hate with love. And if God was like man, most and all of you who were tweeting would have felt the wrath of God in your fingers as you tweeted. But God is not like man, you see. But those of you who are hiding behind Twitter to say the nasty things that you say, and you can say some nasty things about me now, I don't really care. Because I am like that little 11-year-old who has confidence and self-esteem that you cannot crush with your racist, hateful, disgraceful comments. My golly, when did we become such a society of hate? Yes, we know that we've pushed everything up about racism under the rug, and it's still there, and it raises its ugly head in Washington, D.C. every single day because they show the black president so much hate. But why are we doing this? The young man is only 11. Do you know, if he did not have self-confidence, how much you could have crushed him? But God be praised. We see that he had confidence, but I could see the pain in his eyes. And any mother would have seen the pain in that young man's eyes. Come on, Americans, do better. Be better. Be bigger. And my God, just you stop it. Wow. Mean-spirited, racist, hateful, disgraceful comments about an 11-year-old. It brought tears to my eyes this morning when I saw the story for the first time. Come on, people. We need to stop. We need to take a breath. Exhale, please. Exhale the hate out of your system. And inhale some love. Love is a big word, the biggest word on the planet. So why don't we embrace it? And start off by loving yourself. Because if you all loved yourself, none of you would have tweeted what you tweeted about that young man. Trying to crush his spirit and his soul and his ambitions. And God will not allow you to do so. Anyway, continuing in the vein of this, I'm wondering if Kraft Foods has lost their conscious minds. Trying to sell their zesty Italian. First they started with a quite racy, sexy kind of ad, which I chose to ignore. I just changed the channel. But now they have the young man lying in the park on a blanket or a tablecloth or whatever it is, just covering his penis. Now I see lots of mothers are angry about it, and I'm angry too, because I cannot imagine if I were in a park and a man was there just doing that, he would be arrested for being naked in the park. So why is Kraft Food trying to push the envelope right to the edge of the precipice to try to sell zesty Italian dressing? Who wants to buy a dressing that when I think of it, I'm thinking of a naked guy? Anyway, my golly, wow. This is Wow Big Friday, and that is a big wow along with the first story I just talked about. So are we just going to continue to push the envelope? Ooh, I guess the next ad he will just be showing his penis too. Kraft Foods. Ashamed should you be of yourself today with that ad. I don't think it will help you to sell any more salad dressings, Zesty Italian. I think you will just lose some people who were planning or thinking of buying your Zesty Italian dressing. And that ad shamefully should be pulled. So, lots of things to contemplate today as we go in deeper into Wow Big Friday, because on Friday it seems like all the crazy news comes out. Oh my goodness, it's incredible to see what people will do just for the sake of some money. And you know, money doesn't really make us happy, you know. It really doesn't. It's great to have it, and I want to have it in abundance, because when you have it in abundance, you can help others. Even though some of us chose not to, because some of us are doing crazy things like this other big wow story. Before I get to it, I want to remind you of a few things. April 30th, every single year as of this year, is International I Love Me Day. And someone needs to come up with something apart from ad block to block these ads when you're doing your Ustream shows. Seriously. Because Ad Block Plus doesn't seem to be working very well. So they can conquer your time and run their ads while you're trying to get your point out. So another wow story, $560,000 for 2 parking spaces in Boston? Ooh. That happened at an IRS auction. They were seized from a man who owed the IRS $600,000 in back taxes, and the bidding started at $42,000. There are too many hungry people around the world. In the United States, there are too many families living in their cars, and we're buying parking spaces. 2 parking spaces for $560,000. Parking spaces cost more than many houses, I might add. The bidding war started and was jammed up by 2 neighbors. In less than 15 minutes, they got to $560,000. The IRS auctioneer said this, and I quote, "The property, the 2 prettiest parking spaces I've ever seen." Oh my golly. What happened there? Is that a sign that we're going back into the crazy years of housing being sold for much more than they're worth? Because those parking spaces, I am positive, they're not worth $560,000. And those 2 neighbors, they must be feeling really stupid at the completion of that auction. Because they must have looked into themselves. I don't care how much money you have. Just like we see Mr. Murdoch is divorcing his wife after she just finished defending him from the person who was about to pie his face in London. Just the other day, she's getting the boot already. But what is he, 80 something and she's 44 or something like that? Ooh, I don't know. That age difference is kind of big. But anyway, we go back into Wow Big Friday. Yes, it's a big thing. It's a wow that Mr. Murdoch has decided to file for divorce from his young Oriental wife. So, anyway, if you're one of those people who love to buy fake bags, handbags especially, and fake things in general, because to me, if I cannot afford to buy the real thing to be authentic, I don't want it. Because it's just like a lot of people in your life, they're fake, they're not authentic. I don't want a fake handbag. Well, I don't like handbags anyway, because handbags, when you go in the store, they start following you around because you have a big bag thinking you're going to put something in it. So to avoid that, I'm a wallet-only girl. But anyway, let's just go down this road for a minute. So if you live in New York City or you visit New York City and you're going to be there for a while, they're going to pass a law soon, we hope, and people are hoping that they do, to stop that counterfeit business from expanding so much. Because you can buy a knockoff of just about anything in New York City. And they say that if the counterfeit business was an actual business, it would be a corporation twice the size of Walmart. So, if you're planning to buy a handbag or any other counterfeit item in New York City, very soon as the buyer, not just the seller, you will be charged. There will be a fine. And did you know that in France already, they do have a law that if you're actually seen with the bag, we don't care how you got it, you get a ticket. Or you can be arrested and go to jail too and spend some jail time. Is a counterfeit bag worth some jail time or a ticket for you? People in the street, I'd love to hear your voices. I'm going to take the show on the road one of these days and ask some of these questions. Because some women will go at nothing. They will stop at nothing to get that handbag. And why are you buying a handbag for $10,000 anyway? $3,000, $2,000. No handbag is worth that. Because it wears out just the same. You throw your stuff in it, and after a year or so, it is worn. It doesn't stay brand new, does it? And then, you know, you have places like Hermes. You have to put your name on a waiting list to even get that bag that cost you $20,000. Wow. Don't we have better things to do with our money? I think we do. So if you are planning to go to New York City to do that fake shopping, and especially the Louis Vuitton bags, where they're saying that you can know it's a fake if the LV is not in the center of the bag. Whoa, I'm so happy that I'm not in that genre. So if you're planning to buy a Louis Vuitton or a Chanel or Karl Lagerfeld or a Michael Kors or any of those high-name designer bags, Ralph Lauren or whatever, or Hermes, that's the creme de la creme, you see, Hermes. Their bags are really expensive and you have got to be on a waiting list to get one. You don't just go and buy it like that. So, what are we putting in these handbags, I'd like to know? And are we paying our bills while we're doing that? Or do we just have to have that fix? Because I do have a story here about some retail therapy, you know. That's one of my wow stories for today. So you might want to stick around for that as I welcome you back to the Diana Wright Show, the 10:30 hour of the program. We welcome you from around the world and in the United States, and thank you so much for joining us. We invite you to like us on Facebook, give us the thumbs up, and please follow me on Twitter. Come on now, get behind me on Twitter. And also, reminding you of another couple of dates that we have here for you that are important. If you're looking for a job, there's a recruiting drive being sponsored and put on by People 490 in Lauderhill tomorrow. I can now say tomorrow. Tomorrow from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. you need to take your resume or your curriculum vitae, whichever way you're labeling it, along with your cover letter, and make sure in that resume you do have your objectives stated. Because they also provide services to help you to create a better resume. But tomorrow, I think, is just a recruiting drive. So if you're looking for a job, please, or if you're seeking a career path, you need to check out People 490 in Lauderhill at Inverary tomorrow. Yes, that's tomorrow, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. It is upon us already. So I'm reminding you today, so you won't forget for tomorrow. If you're looking for a job or a career path, you need to check out this recruiting drive put on by People 490. Judith will be there, I'm sure, and lots of other people. So you can check it out tomorrow morning. And if you forget anything I'm saying, just check out her website at people490.com and you will get all the information that you need. All right. So we continue here, and also come October 5, the White Party of the Year. It's a white fundraising party going to be put on by Save a Life Jamaica Foundation. And they promise to make you have some fun, bring out your dancing shoes and party. Ooh. Yes, but you must wear white. I want no one coming there in no black and no other color. White. Be disciplined and be obedient. Okay, we don't care what color shoes you wear or accessories, but your clothing must be white. So come on out and have a good time. Let them see that people can save lives and have a good time at the same time. It's only going to cost you $30. So we invite you that if you can't come to the party because you live in Iceland, where Dax is right now, then we ask you to go to our website at Save a Life Jamaica Foundation and make your donation there of $30. Thanking you in advance for that, because you will be helping people around the world with their medical bills, getting a test that they need that they can't afford to save their lives, getting glasses and all those other things that people need. And when you give, you truly, truly, truly feel good about it. I promise you that. Alrighty. So, ladies who are out there who love to have the most popular handbag because, you know, you can get it at a knockoff price. No more. And I'm sure it starts in New York, and that law is passed. It will be circulated everywhere else. But New York is the capital of counterfeit goods. If you're looking for them, that's where you find them mostly. So I guess that's the reason they started there. Alrighty, let's move right along now to Walmart. The chief executive, Mike Duke, said on today, and before I talk about Walmart, do you know and realize that in Iran, today is election day? Well, they're ahead of us, so maybe it's almost finished by now. Election day, we will no longer have Mahmoud Ahmadinejad to kick around, because he can't run anymore because he's done his, allotted terms. And we're going to have a new guy to contend with. No more Ahmadinejad and people who can't pronounce his name and all of that good stuff. So, elections are being held in Iran. We will let you know who is the ultimate winner. Even though it's not election like, I wouldn't say here, because we don't have great elections either, because people are trying to steal votes all over the place in the U.S. Republicans trying to draw lines in constituencies to make them win. And they're bringing out, voter ID laws to prevent black people from going to vote, keeping the elderly away from the polls and all that. So we're not doing so well here, so we should not criticize anyone. So Iran is having their elections. That's what I'll say about it. And I'll let you know who wins. Okay, so go back to Walmart here now. The company's chief executive says the company's annual meeting, compliance with the nation's laws is an absolute, he said. He vowed to do the right thing and praised the company's foundation of integrity. But while he's doing that, what are their new hiring practices at Walmart? And what are their motives? Think. Can you guess? Oh no, they're now deciding to hire only temporary workers. Shame on you, Walmart. In many, many locations, that is. A move that Walmart denies is tied to cutting costs. Of course it's cutting costs. Do you think we're stupid or something? Yet doing so would allow it to sidestep the need to enroll those employees in company-sponsored health insurance plans under Obamacare. So how does Walmart get around all these things? They hire temporary workers. Remember at the time that they had the scandal, they were hiring all these illegal aliens or undocumented workers? So now they're doing something else. A survey of 52 Walmart stores found that 27 were hiring only temps, while 20 added a mix of temp, part-time, and full-time workers. Oh my goodness. You know, it's such a pity sometimes what we have to go through to pay less for our products that we buy. Because Walmart truly has lower priced products, but is this the price that we are paying to get those lower prices? For workers to be treated unfairly, for workers to have their hours cut. Now we're going to have temporary workers because we don't want to give them health care benefits? 5 stores weren't hiring at all. The move marks the first time the retailers had relied on temporary workers outside of the busy holiday shopping season, because like most companies, come close to Christmas, everybody hire temps because they need that extra hand to do stuff. So what's the reason for the strategy, we ask? Walmart says it's to make sure the stores are staffed appropriately. I'm not buying that. That was what Mr. David Tovor told the news agency Reuters. He added that temporary jobs pay the same starting rate as other positions. However, one store manager said he's hiring just temps because it's a company direction at the present time. Lower costs are likely part of the appeal of temporary workers, especially in the U.S. businesses prepare for Obamacare to take effect in 2014, because it requires large employers to provide healthcare coverage for full-time employees. So in order not to give you any healthcare benefits, temps is the order of the day at Walmart. So Walmart has been coming under fire increasingly for its low wages and employment practices. We know that. A recent report from congressional Democrats claim a single Walmart supercenter in Wisconsin may cost taxpayers as much as $1.7 million per year because its low-earning workers often have to depend on food stamps and other government aid. If Walmart continues relying on temp workers, those costs to taxpayers could rise, given Obamacare's enrollment mandate. Some of those temp workers could end up on states' expanded Medicaid funds. That's one example. Walmart typically hires temporary workers on 180-day contracts. Oh, so they're giving you a contract now as a temporary worker? Woo! Because work hours can vary widely, managers are often unsure whether a worker qualifies for full-time work. Under Obamacare, employers can measure hours for up to 12 months to check whether workers qualify. But because temps are hired on short contracts, it's unclear how many will make the cut. A temporary worker may never get that far. That was said by Barbara Magowitch, a principal and health benefits expert consulting firm Mercer. Ah, my goodness, Walmart, why are you doing this? They may never get the coverage. So, should we just stop shopping at Walmart, or should we continue to shop there and just people protest and make them do better? I'm not so sure, because sometimes you actually see products in Walmart $1 less than the same product in another store. So I'm not sure that people are going to be willing to do that, to boycott Walmart. They're going to continue to go, but people have to insist. The workers need to stand up for themselves, but I guess in fear they think they might be fired. So there you go. Did you know that there's something called FTD, frontal temporal dementia? And this type of dementia changes someone's personality, and it's attacking younger Americans like 62-year-olds, late 50s. People's personality just change. Did you know it's called FTD, frontal temporal dementia? Something to consider when you see your older individuals around you, family members, personality change all of a sudden. They'll act as if they don't like you or you're not there, and they used to be an attentive, loving human being. Watch out. This is on the rise. And did you also know that the daily use of sunscreen can slow down the aging process? They have, yes. Use it like regular cream and make sure it has a broad spectrum. It's a broad spectrum sunscreen. Use it every day and it will slow down the aging process of your skin, that is. Obviously, it's of the skin, okay? So, but they say aging process, you know, as if, ooh. So, sunscreen has another benefit apart from protecting you from the sun and from skin cancer. We now know that it can slow down the aging process. Just make sure that when you're buying the sunscreen, it is a broad spectrum sunscreen. And also, there are lots of items on the market that are claiming to slow down the need for you to have plastic surgery. Nothing against plastic surgery, but if you want to slow down the process to get there, or you don't want to have the knife sticking someplace in your body, then there are products out there. Lots of them. So go research them. I have some names that I can give you. Avene, that's one for skin, to take off those dark spots that you get. And there's a company called It Cosmetics. They have something for the eyes. There is Jane. Someone called Jane has have products called Just Lips. And they also have a lip plumper. Well, if you're a black woman, most of the times you don't need any plumper. So, and there's Jan Marini, who has a lotion that will slow down the wrinkles. And Skin Authority, they have a wrinkle cream. So you might want to check those out if you want to slow down the process and prevent yourself from going under the knife for plastic surgery. Also, have you come across this or noticed or even know or have heard about it, that many doctors are now switching their practices to a cash-only business? Now, they do accept credit card and checks, but it's cash only. And this is the reason why. This arrangement generally enables much lower overhead costs because, oh, wow. So you see, it helps clients because of they have to process those, forms for all these other insurance companies. Patient billing becomes not a problem because you're paying on the spot. And countless hassles related to managed care. I knew that managed care was going to become a hassle one of these days. So those are the things that they can eliminate if you pay cash. But how many of us are going to be able to pay cash for our medical care? Whether it's credit card or checks or the greenback itself. How many of us can do that? Well, lots of doctors, like in Maine and all over the country, are actually doing that. They're switching their practice payments to cash only. So be prepared for that, folks. So if you have a doctor that you truly love and want them to continue to be your doctor, you got to get the money in the bank so you can pay. Because if you use your credit card, you know that credit card, you still have to pay the bill. So it comes down to cash. C-A-S-H. Welcome once again to the Diana Wright Show. This is Wow Big Friday, and Dax is not with us, but I'm sure he's with us in spirit as he is enjoying himself with Sarah, his daughter, in Iceland. And we hope they have a great time there. Okay. Did you know that elderly Americans are dying with debt? Older Americans? A study earlier this year from the Employee Benefit Research Institute found that the percentage of households with credit card debt headed by someone aged 75 or older doubled from 11% in 1998 to 22% in 2010. Wow. And a 2011 University of Michigan Law School study found that those 65 and older are the fastest growing segment of the U.S. population filing for bankruptcy. And they carry 50% more credit card debt than younger debtors. Who knew that we could come to this? But you notice, though, I think a lot of older people, when they get to certain ages, they decide to buy the most expensive cars, a sports car preferably, that they can put the top down and enjoy themselves. But not so fast. In addition to credit card debt, today's older Americans carry loans that were rare in the past for their age group. Fourth quarter 2012 data from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York show that 2.2 million adults age 60 and older have student loan debt, with 1 in 8 delinquent on payments. And since 1989, the proportion of those older than age 75 with mortgage debt has quadrupled. Many seniors are racking up debt because of high medical bills and dwindling retirement savings, thinking that it will be forgiven when they die. Not so much. Here's the bad part. While most debt cannot be transferred to your children, creditors can go after a senior's home, their savings, and sometimes their families, who might have unknowingly co-signed a loan or who pay simply because they're unsure who is responsible. So seniors, you cannot do this. You have to live within your means just like younger people. Because when you die, your debt can be following and trailing your children and your family members. Children also can be bitten by parents' back taxes. Did you know that? So if your parents didn't pay their taxes, you can be wiped out for it. If a deceased parent gifted money to a child and that gift occurred after the IRS informed the parent that they owed the government, the IRS can reach into the child's bank account, says California estate planning attorney Mark Powell. Can you imagine that? Some parents will try to gift their children money or assets to avoid creditors. But if the child takes it knowing that the parent did so to circumvent those seeking repayment, courts can order it seized once a parent is gone. That's what Mr. Powell says. But most of the times that you give children those kind of gifts, though, they don't know that they're getting it because you don't want them to go squander it. So that's the reason you will give it to them and not to let them know that you're getting. So, okay. So I guess you can beat the system that way. Make sure that when you're giving your grandchild or your children or a family member any of your wealth, don't tell them. Let them find out when they read the will. In New York, for example, transfers to a child or another person that are made as early as 6 years before a debtor defaults on money they owe, including because the debtor dies, can be subject to seizure to repay the debt. In other states, the look-back period is 4 or 5 years. So we really got to be careful of what we do, how to protect our money. Don't want to be like Governor Romney. Okay, the Bahamas and all over the place, the Cayman Islands, Cayman, Swiss banks. We don't want to be like all those wealthy people. Let's just be careful here. Other mistakes are more basic. If a child co-signs a loan, helping a parent refinance into a better mortgage rate, for example, they're liable for the entire amount if their parent dies. And this is told to us by Ted Beck, President and CEO of the National Endowment for Financial Education. So be wary of what you do and what you don't do with your money. My suggestion is enjoy your money, travel, and have a good time. Just make sure you have enough to take you into your golden years. And don't be waiting for your golden years to travel, because you might not be well enough to go on a plane because you can't move or you're sick or something. So enjoy your life now. Okay? Enjoy it. Take whatever, money you have and budget yourself and enjoy yourself. So, trying to leave some to your children might just put them in bigger harm's way. Okay. Have you heard the story that the U.S. white population majority will be wiped out in 2043? Wonder how old some of us will be in 2043 for us to be even worrying about this right now. For the first time, America's racial and ethnic minorities now make up about half of the under 5 age group. That was what the government disclosed to us yesterday. It's a historic shift that shows how young people are at the forefront of sweeping changes by race and class. The new census estimates a snapshot of the U.S. population as of July 2012. Comes a year after the Census Bureau reported that whites had fallen to a minority among babies. So the white folks are having less babies while the Hispanics and the blacks are multiplying the population. Can they afford to apply make the population bigger? Can they afford it? Should they be doing it if they can't afford it? Isn't it wrong for the children to suffer because the parents were irresponsible? Or is it just that we love to have babies and we have those babies not thinking about how we're going to take care of them? Okay. Fueled by immigration and high rates of birth, particularly among Hispanics, racial and ethnic minorities are now growing more rapidly in numbers than whites. It's the latest in a series of reports that have signaled a major long-term shift in the demographics of the United States, as non-Hispanic white Americans are expected to become a minority group over the next 3 decades. I know that a whole lot of conservatives are very angry right now. For years, Americans of Asian, Black, and Hispanic descent have stood poised to topple the demographic hegemony historically held by whites. Based on current rates of growth, whites in the under 5 group are expected to tip to a minority this year or next. Wow. This was said by the Census Bureau's acting director, Mr. Thomas Messenborg. The government also projects that in 5 years, minorities will make up more than half of children under 18. Not long after the total U.S. white population will begin an inexorable decline in absolute numbers due to aging baby boomers. Wow. The population younger than 5 stood at 49.9% minority in 2012. For the first time in more than a century, the number of deaths, that means deaths, now exceeds births among white Americans. Wow. This natural decrease, they're calling it, occurred several years before the government's original projection, a sign of the white population decline soon to arrive. For now, the white population is still increasing slightly due to immigration from Europe. As a whole, the non-white population increased by 1.9% to 116 million, or 37% of the U.S. The fastest percentage growth is among multiracial Americans. Wow, multiracial, followed by Asians and Hispanics. Non-Hispanic whites make up 63% of the U.S. Hispanics, 17% blacks, 12.3% Asians, 5%, and multiracial Americans, 2.4%. About 353 of the nation's 3,143 counties, or 11%, are now majority minority. 6 of those counties tipped to that status last year. Wow. North Carolina, Cherokee, Oklahoma, Texas, Oklahoma, Bell, Texas, Hockley, Texas, and Terrell, Texas. In 2012, 13 states and the District of Columbia had an under 5 age population that was majority minority. up from 5 states in 2000. In 25 states and the District of Columbia, minorities now make up more than 40% of the under 5 age group. Among the under 5 age group, 22% live in poverty. That's the bad part. Typically in more rural states such as Mississippi, Arkansas, Louisiana, black toddlers were most likely to be poor. Not so good. At 41%, followed by Hispanics at 32% and whites at 13%. Look at that disparity. 41% for blacks, 13% for the whites, Hispanics 32%. Asian toddlers had a poverty rate of 11% because you see a lot of Asians tend to own business and make sure their children go and get educated. More so than ever, we need to recognize the importance of young minorities for the growth and vitality of our labor force and our economy. That was said by William H. Frey. He's a demographer at the Brookings Institution who analyzed the census data. So apart from the conservatives that I'm sure are mad about this, immigration reform could be hitting some roads here. Because the Republicans know that if they don't go with the immigration bill, they will just continue to lose. And even if they go with the immigration bill, you have crazy people on Fox worried about the fact that they're all going to vote for the Democrats anyway. But my golly, it takes them 13 years to get to be a citizen. That's a long time from now. Is Ann Coulter going to still be alive? And all the crazies at Fox News? Are they still going to be around to be making noise in 13 years? Why are you worried about something that's going to be happening in 13 years? The process is long and arduous for these people. Why not take them out of the shadows? It helps all of us. It stops them from driving down the wage rate, doesn't it? So why are we so upset about this whole thing? Wow. About 40% of whites aged 25 to 29 graduate from college, compared with 15% of Latinos and 23% for blacks. Wow. So 40% to 23% for blacks, 40% white, 15% Latinos to 40% whites graduating from college. Wow, the gaps in achievement tend to emerge early in childhood, continuing through high school, and disparities are especially evident in SAT admission scores. Now, SAT, I think people put too much credence on that SAT score because we know that we have cheaters in it all the time, and we know that people are taking the test for other people, so now they're beefed up the security, and the SAT does not necessarily reflect what the children are learning in school. So I'm not putting my life on that SAT score. Just let parents keep that in mind. Don't get totally devastated if your child doesn't make 1600 or 1300 or 1500. You have some smart people who got high SAT scores and they're doing absolutely nothing with their lives. Be proud of your children, whatever grade or score they get. What is it, Mr. Rodriguez? One of the ball players, he got like 980. So, and look how much money he's making. College Board data show that average scores spread as wide as 130 to 140. Yeah, points in each of the reading, math, and writing sections for students. But we put too many, too much of our energy on those things, I think. Seriously. Venezuela. They have now said that the election results are permanent, and despite the fact that the opponent was asking them to recount and all those good things, and he's saying that the whole thing is a fraud and all of that. Despite the controversy, Mr. Maduro was sworn in on the 19th of April for a 6-year term. So Mr. Capriles vowed that he will take his case to the Supreme Court and to the international courts because he believed that the election was rigged, the recount or whatever they did was rigged, and everything is rigged. But if we go back to Chavez, we know that Venezuelan elections are not really what we think they should be. So I'm sure Mr. Capriles probably has a point there, but we'll see what happens with that. Anyway, let's go all the way now to India. Is India safe for women and tourists to go to these days? There's a sign that I saw that was so hitting to me. The sign held by a young woman says this: "Don't tell me how to dress, tell them not to rape." Brutal attacks and rapes of tourists blaming urbanization and men living together with no female influence in India. There's a Miss Ruchira Gupta. She's an Indian woman and she's part of a women's rights activist group. And she's also an Emmy-winning documentary maker. She says migrant workers are developing a new cult of masculinity, being driven by the pornography industry. India is now the third largest user of pornography in the world, I said. And the porn narrative in India is one of sexual violence and domination, which she says is sending signals to men to associate sex with violence. Ms. Gupta is warning tourists to not take safety for granted when you come to India, because there is a backlash against westernization, which is embodied in the white female. So if you're a white female and you're planning to visit India, Ms. Gupta is asking you to take your security seriously, because you don't want to be raped like the tourists that have been raped and some killed. I mean, what is going on in India? They're raping their own women, they're raping white women, they're raping tourists. Is India actually a safe place for women to visit? You might want to ask yourself that question before you're fascinated with going to Mumbai. It's kind of interesting what's going on in India, because India is doing so well with entrepreneurship and all that kind of stuff. But yet, they have things like this happening because they have all those migrant workers coming in to do work. And Ms. Gupta is saying that because they're living together as men, they become violent. I don't buy that. As the sign says, and that young woman that's holding up that sign online, don't tell me how to dress, tell them not to rape. That's what we need to be teaching our young men. Okay, here goes my retail therapy. When your significant other says it's over, your first instinct may be to seek comfort in a pint of ice cream or a stiff drink. I will do neither. But there are healthier ways of nursing a broken heart, including shopping. In a recent survey by TNS Global on behalf of ebates.com, around 52% of respondents said they've engaged in retail therapy. Now, the first time I heard that word retail therapy was years ago from a friend of mine, Joan. And she said, oh, I just went and had some retail therapy because whatever was bugging her. And I thought, wow, that's a good thing. But here we go. It's a big official thing. It's not just, it's official, just like the International I Love Me Day by the Diana Wright Show. Yes. Okay. And the act of shopping and spending to improve one's mood. Both men and women admitted they've opened their wallets when feeling blue. Who knew? However, this form of therapy can put your finances at risk if it's the only way you can temper your mood, or if you feel guilty about your spending behaviors and don't shop in moderation. So my advice to you, ladies and gentlemen, if you're feeling a little blue and you're pissed off or ticked off with your spouse or whatever, and you want to go and do some retail therapy, make sure you can pay that credit card bill, or make sure you have the greenbacks in your wallet to pay cash. When you're sad, you see the world differently, says Scott Rick, a professor of marketing at the University of Michigan, whose research focuses on the emotional causes and consequences of financial decision making. Rick says people who are upset about upset about think they live in an environment that's out of their control. Come on, people, control your environment and love yourself. One way to restore control, he says, is by making choices about what to buy. How about start off by loving yourself and not going to the store and spending money you can't afford? Talking about retail therapy. It's a good thing. Decisions can be between material items, a pair of shorts versus jeans, or what to consume, a smoothie versus a milkshake. Studies show retail therapy is less effective for feelings like aggression, but Rick says purchases, cheap or expensive, can help relieve mild depression. So retail therapy can actually help your depression. If it's mild, that is. Despite its benefits, retail therapy is shunned by many consumers. I think it's unpopular these days to say you shop for pleasure because we are supposed to be in some stoic state in this post-recession economy, says Kit Yarrow, a professor of psychology at Golden Gate University in San Francisco, who studies consumer trends and behavior. She says, I think shopping serves as a healthy purpose for a lot of people. If it works for you, you should not feel guilty. Do it, enjoy it, and don't overdo it. That's what she's advising. April Lane Benson, author of I Shop, Therefore I Am, Compulsive Buying and the Search for Self. My God, this is deep. Says consumers must be conscious of their shopping behaviors. Although retail therapy can be have positive effects, she says it can easily evolve into a spending problem, and we don't want that. We turn to instant gratification when we feel distressed, she says. Yet sometimes a quick pick-me-up is necessary. Margaret Malloy, that's Margaret Malloy, a professor of marketing at Pennsylvania State. You see how many people got involved in this whole thing? Pennsylvania State University, and co-author of the 2011 study, Retail Therapy. She actually wrote about this, a strategic effort to improve mood, says people must diffuse negative emotions before they worsen, or they could lose control of their shopping behaviors and act recklessly with money. Such untreated depression or frustration can push people to spending extremes. Wow. So a lot of people got involved in that study about retail therapy. So it is something that we need to keep in mind. And of course, there was something else that really, truly got me here. That was a wow story for me this week. Remember, I gave you the 9 ways that you can get rich quickly. Marry rich, self-publish your book, get a hardship location job, go viral with a video, become a landlord, flip real estate, create a product, start a business, or invest aggressively. Now there are 9 reasons why you don't want to be rich. And here they are. Everybody wants to sue you. So there's a lawsuit pending around every corner. Trust fund brats. How money affects young people when they get lots of money from their billionaire parents? That's one of the biggest worry of a billionaire parent. They worry that their children are going to become brats. Trust fund brats, they call it. Estate taxes, more than $5 million used to be $600,000. Now it's more than $5 million if you have to pay real estate taxes, or estate taxes they call it. But before there was a change in the tax code, it used to be $600,000. So now lots of us don't have to worry because $5 million is a whole lot, which most of us don't really have. Okay, professional fees. Those celebrities, they have to pay for their agent 15%, attorney 5%, business manager 5%, and so on and so forth. And they have to hire a CPA to file their taxes. Alimony and child support with property settlements now. Remember that one? Okay. Secret accounts. So a lot of people who don't want to pay their spouses, they have their secret accounts in Cayman and Switzerland. Remember now, that's no longer a secret. Because if you have the money there, it's going to be exposed. Security detail. If you are rich, you have to have a lot of security around you. You always wonder, all these celebrities, they travel with an entourage of security detail. Trouble with the help? Yes, you have something that's being called the revenge of the ex-nannies. People like Sharon Stone, Usher, Sean Diddy Combs, P. Diddy Combs, they've all been sued by their ex-nannies. Oh my goodness. So they hire them to take care of their children and then they sue them when they no longer work with them. That's shameful, I think. Huge income tax bills, that's something to remember. Remember Romney, now he pays a whole lot of taxes because he makes a whole lot of money. Okay, and the next one is being broke may not be so bad after all. So we'll end it on that note. I don't like to do that, but hey, that's where it ends today. We could, it was also wow for me to find out that there was a first case of leprosy reported in Ireland, and also I was quite shocked that Best Western would have 2 people die in a hotel room, and then instead of waiting until everything clears before they rent that room out again to anyone else, they actually put a mother and her young son in the room, the same room, and that young man died. I think he was 11 years old. He died. And then later, what did they find out? Carbon monoxide is the reason. Oh, the reason. So now when you go to the hotel, please make sure you're not only checking the sheets and the pillowcases and the pillow, you're checking the AC units, the vents that you see in your room. Please do check that. So that's another wow story for me that I will end on. The leprosy and, of course, Best Western. Oh, it's not always about making money. How about trying to save some lives? Thank you so much for joining me today. It's Friday, and I know that you all are planning great weekends, because if you live in Florida and any place else, it seems the weather is going to give us a break this weekend. Hope it does. And if it doesn't, we just have to take what God gives us, because He's in charge, not the weatherman. So, thank you for joining me from around the world and in the United States. This is the Diana Wright Show Live. My name is Diana Wright, and I wish you all of God's blessings this weekend. Hope all your dreams come true, and hope that God will give you, each and every one of you, the desires of your heart. But what should you do? You should not worry so much. You should kind of do your part and leave the rest to God, because He keeps us from harm. And He also gives us what we need to have at the right time. So ask Him what's His will for you when you pray. We're not saying don't ask for what you want, because you should ask for what you want. And don't ask for little things. Ask for big things. But then you need to be patient and leave it to Him to give it to you. So remember the sandwich that we have here on the Diana Wright Show, the sandwich of love. I, the top piece of the bread, and love is in the middle, big as it is. And then the other slice is me. So I love me, the sandwich that you should be eating every day, all the time, teaching it to your children and your loved ones, and even those you don't like so much. If you try to get them to love themselves, I'm sure they will be better people. Because if you love yourself, you're not out there trying to hurt anyone else. You're there to try to make peace and do good. And that should be what we aim for. So as we remind you of April 30th, I Love Me Day, it's International I Love Me Day, and we can't wait to see it next year again. Hoping we'll all be alive and well and be able to celebrate it again. Reminding you also that if you're looking for a job, tomorrow is the day to go to a recruiting drive being held in Lauderhill by People 490. People490.com is where you'll get the information for all of that. And also reminding you of the white party that's coming up in October. It seems like it's a far way away, but it really isn't, because as we turn our heads, it will be Christmas. So don't forget to join us to save lives as you come to the white fundraising party being put on by Save a Life Jamaica Foundation. So we thank you so much for joining us. And as we say adios and ciao and au revoir, We remind you that if you love something, set it free. If it comes back, it's yours. If it doesn't, it was absolutely never yours. So have a great weekend. Be blessed. Stay prayed up. Be safe. And give some love. No hate. No tweet of hate. Just give some love. It will make you feel better. All those haters on Twitter that are trying to kill the spirit of an 11-year-old Mr. De La Cruz. Take it back and apologize. It will be good for you. And even you, I throw my love out to you, all the haters of immigrants. I throw my love and give it to you today. Have a great weekend. Ciao. Doobie doobie doo. Be doobie.